Hello and welcome back to the MLG Winter Championship 2013. Oh, you poor souls. You guys. Wow. Well. Oh. So the game is not ready yet. And it's not our fault, but I just said hello and you were so happy to see me. I didn't mean to wrong you that bad. Let's talk about the bracket, shall we, Nick?
There's, what's cool about the bracket, there's 3 non-Koreans left alive right now, and each one from a different region of the world.
And all Zerg. In fact, the only non-Korean Zerg still remaining in the tournament is Startail Life. If we actually take a look at the brackets, Rain on the stream blue is currently leading the series 2-1 against Jockji, and if Rain does close that series out against Jockji, it'll be the first best of X that a Terran has lost in this tournament.
Thor's name versus Killer.
It will be the second series. But honestly, a lot of the Terran players have been just absolutely brutalizing all their opponents with that drop-based play.
I mean, talk about looking at the bottom right there. 3-0 with Innovation over Huck, and then 3-0 over Leenock. Both Huck and Leenock are the only 2 players ever to win 2 MLGs. So Innovation's basically won 4 MLGs, right? I think that's how it works. I mean,
that's a logical train of thought as far as I'm concerned. Up in the top side, of course, we have Sen versus Parting. That's a rematch of the BWC semifinals where we saw Parting 3-0 Sen with an Immortal Sentry all-in 3 times in a row.
You know what's going to be awesome?
What?
This time, he can do the Immortal Sentry all-in with the Mothership Core.
No, but here's the thing. We actually have seen a lot of answers in Heart of the Swarm to be able to deal with this. On the Korean servers, players are in fact not even going for the early 3rd hatch. We're seeing players instead do what Leenock did in his first round game, going straight for the layer, getting the Swarm host up, and really just containing and pushing. So, I mean, a lot of the Immortal Sentry all-ins in the past just aren't working well at all.
They really only work against that fast third. The question is, will Sen do the fast third, like historically Wings Liberty players have, or is he going to go with the new Zerg style? I'll have to wait and see, because that is upcoming on Stream Blue, I think, in a bit.
That's true. And of course, there's Rhett versus Flash coming up. And I want to spend a little bit of time talking about this upcoming match because we've seen different answers to the aggressive drop play that's just been killing every Zerg. We saw Stefano try to essentially go Roach Hydralisk and just move his basic ground army around the map to deal with it, but wasn't really able to deal with it with Roach Hydra, even after he got the Vipers up. We saw Leenock just go pure Ling Muta Baneling, still had a huge amount of trouble. Ghostly User is going this weird fast Spire and just getting a couple of Corruptors to hold the force off, but I mean, what are your thoughts on some effective ways that Zerg can deal with this really difficult drop harass?
Well, so far, like you mentioned, Ghost User actually has looked to be showing the strongest anti-drop play, and is really using Infestors a lot. He gets a few Corruptors so that when Medevac's hiding corners of the map, he can chase him down, but it's really about the fungal growth with his playstyle. It's all based on fungling those Medevacs. They can't use Ignite Afterburners because no matter what their movement speed is, if they're fungal, they can't move, and that's basically what he's going for. A lot of Zergs are afraid to use Infestors, though, now. Infested Terrans don't get the upgrades. It's much harder to land the fungals.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird to actually see the complete abandonment of Infestors with pretty much all the Zergs that we've seen, with the exception of perhaps Leenock, who's been sort of consistently teching to those right after he goes for Mutalist. But in all honesty, the fungal growth is still very strong. When it does land, there just needs to be a little bit more planning, and given the fact that a lot of Zergs are... I'm even thinking of a player like Nerchio, who gets so many Zerglings, can still do the full surround with all the Zerglings, even from a straight directional angle, and they can just fungal growth to clean things up. Kind of curious to see if Flash is going to be doing that sort of style, given that we saw him do largely mech against Bly.
Yeah, he used a little bit of each, so I think it's going to be map dependent for Flash, and Flash is a guy who he likes to keep all his skills up to par, so I think we're going to see mech on a map like Daybreak, Bio on a more open map like Whirlwind. He's definitely capable of all of it. One thing to note, though, is that when he did go mech versus Bly, he actually lost that game. Although to be fair, I mean, that was mostly because his early proxy Reaper shenanigans didn't quite
and
work
then
that well.
The Infestors were in the main for like the game the entire time, just lobbing the infested Terrans up. But I mean, Flash certainly shows an incredibly potent mech style. So I really am excited to see how Rhett deals well with that variety. I mean, the fact of the matter is that Flash is considered to be the best Brood War player of all time, considered to be one of the top players in the beta with one of the best win rates. And Rhett has always gotten far in MLG, but never really gotten all the way.
Yeah, I mean, Rhett's one of those players, he almost always made the championship bracket. He was like one of those guys who always made champ bracket, always would almost beat some, make it into like the top 16 or something, but usually was in that 17 to 20 category. He's already made the top 16 here, defeating Suppy very convincingly 3-1. So he's already guaranteed himself some prize money. Going up against Flash, if he beats Flash, he could be an actually favorite to make it far in his tournament, because right now, Flash is one of the guys to beat in StarCraft 2.
Yeah, and I mean, Rhett has shown an ability to knock down major players out of an MLG, most notably at one of the MLG arenas, eliminating MVP 2-1 in a very solid series that had a lot of weird, low econ, tough decision-making setups. I almost feel like Rhett's biggest weakness is in the first 15 minutes of the game, when there's a lot of those timings that a lot of players are excellent at. He's doing some strong cell phone text timing right now.
Oh, he's getting strategy advice from his fellow Liquid Zerg, perhaps Xenia.
Or TLO.
Or TLO. TLO, of course, always has some crazy strategies. He's probably giving Rhett, like, you go 40 drones and go burrow roaches at Nidus, and Rhett's like, 40 drones? What? Yeah. That's missing a 0 there, I think.
Well, I mean, that's the thing about TLO's play that's like really cool, utilizing the fast Overlord speed to just create a creep highway right as he gets layer tech to blast in with roaches and queens. Most Terrans will never see that anywhere else, so it's hard to plan for it or expect it at the very least. So maybe Rhett will go with some of that creativity, but what we have seen out of Rhett in some of the beta games is getting stupidly fast layers. I mean, starting the layer at 5 minutes and 15 seconds to where any tech to the late game at all. I mean, we saw Biomine work beautifully for innovation. The Mutila's hit way too early for the Terran player to really step out and be aggressive in the mid game.
Yeah, I mean, Terrans really have been relying on the drop play so much, and the drop play requires you to have that comfort knowledge that, you know, you have the map control, they can't attack you right now, so you can afford to load up 30, 40 food in different drops. But if the Zerg is a player who takes map control early, the Terran, you know, is kind of pinned back in their base. They can't really get out there and use those drops.
I mean, especially because mines, even though they work well with the super mobile bio army, themselves are quite bad and not quite bad, but they're quite slow, and it's quite difficult to step out and seize map control with that sort of play. So given that we have a little bit of extra time, let's go ahead and take another look at the brackets again to see what's going to be going on in the other half of the round of 16 matches. Of course, Life Pult. I know a lot of people are super excited for that. I mean, what are your thoughts on how that match could play out?
I think that's going to be one of the matches where we're actually most likely to see Terran lose, because Life is just so insanely good. He's one of those guys where, like, when you're talking about the ways Terrans win, right, they all involve medevacs. Life is like the one player who, as soon as he builds Zerglings, it's like he's already won the game. He's that good with Zerglings. So if there's, I think out of every player here, he has the best chance to knock out a Terran. Pult's one of the best Terrans in the beta. I mean, 5-1 versus Creator and Fight Club, 3-0 versus Liquid Hero in the qualifier match for this event, and then, of course, defeating Creator convincingly 3-1 in the round of 32. So Pult's going to be a very tough person, but Life, his Zerglings are like they're like Zerglings from the campaign where you get to like give them those special buffs to get extra life and stuff or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really hoping to see Life go all the way. He's won all the major tournaments he's been in, MLGs, GSLs, Iron Squids, just tearing it up. Last Killer, I certainly think that Last is going to be the heavy favorite in that match, having just 3-0'd Stefano, even though Killer did 3-1 Thorzane. Thorzane was not really doing any big aggressive drop plays, was kind of doing his usual slow and steady style. And Killer, I believe, only lost that hour and 10-minute long game on Newkirk City.
Definitely a very rough game for Killer there. He did play out about the last half hour of that, being down by 150 food, and hanged in there for quite a long time, of course. And then he did win the rest of the game. So Killer could be contender, and I really like seeing a player from South America like that do so well. He also did a very great showing in the Blizzard World Finals as well. So a lot of talent from South America. Sometimes people forget about. Going down though, it's MC MVP, and that's going to be one of the highlights because both those guys are the 2 highest earning players in StarCraft 2 history. So it's earning number 1 versus earning number 2. Who's going to usurp the throne right now? Both these players, and there was about a 6-month period where every GSL, there's 4 GSLs in a row, they were won by one these guys. Like, yeah, MC won one, then MVP won one, then the next one MC won, then MVP's like, no, it's my turn again. And he won one. So it's like a classic matchup of 2 of the guys who, early in Wings of Liberty, were like the 2 best guys by far. Nowadays, there's so many other top players. They're still both insanely good, though, and it's awesome to see them go head-to-head again.
I am going to go mega bold and say that MC wins that series 3-1.
That is bold.
I am just going to say it right now. I was in the lobby at the hotel, and they have a pool table. And Sase was playing MC in pool. And MC was upset that he was against a Protoss and asked if he could trade with Sase because he says, Teja, easy peasy.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's confidence right there.
MC is convinced that Protoss vs. Terran is way in Protoss's favor, which surprises me, given that every single game I've watched a Protoss play has been just really depressing because the medevacs always get out, always, and never die.
This is true. The one thing to say about MC, though, is he really favors Templar play, especially getting Templar really fast off 2 bases. So if there's any way to beat medevacs, Templar definitely have the option to feedback and storm them. We saw Creator really struggle with Pulse medevacs, but of course Creator really favors the Colossi base play, and unfortunately Colossi don't shoot medevacs.
Yeah, I mean, even Feast is saying that really robo play he thinks it's obsolete in Heart of the Swarm. It has to be focused on the Templar tech or the Stargate tech. And on that note, MC has shown some really sweet Phoenix usage.
Oh, yes.
I mean, he's used Phoenix in the past. I mean, NASL Season 1 and Season 2, a lot of Phoenixes against Terrans. But in the recent Heart of the Swarm, I mean, even at the North American Heart of the Swarm launch, we saw him bust out Phoenixes against the exact play style that we saw today. Marine Marauder, medevac, mine. And was very easily able to thwart the medevac drops, to lift up the mines, to pick off Marines that were in low numbers. I mean, it just looked impossible for Pol to deal any damage. So I'm praying that we see Phoenixes.
I've been waiting to see Phoenixes in Protoss vs. Terran for a long time. They've kind of died off as of late in Wings of Liberty. Heart of the Storm, though, the extra range, the higher danger of the medevacs, make it seem like a much more viable option. And one of the other things is that the weakness of Phoenix is often that your ground army is weaker, your area of effect damage is a little bit slower to get out, so sometimes it's hard to defend at third base. But now you've got time warps, you've got photon overcharges. Protoss has all these new tools to make it easier to defend a frontal assault. It's more those harassment medevac type attacks that are getting them. And so going for the weaker army but more mobility play of Phoenixes could be a great response to this new style of Terran.
Yeah, and I mean, the last match that we have in round of 16 is Teja Bomber, another Terran versus Terran, and we saw a really, I think, shocking series in Jockji versus Marine King Prime, where Jockji 3-0'd MKP with solid tank push timing, weird tank push timings that involve Marines, tanks, and no medevacs. The fact that the siege mode doesn't even need to be researched means that there's these all of a sudden defenses and, of course, all of a sudden attacks that are now opened up for Terran, and Jockji used them beautifully. But, of course, speed medevacs a really defining role in the new Terran versus Terran. Mech is a little bit dicier because even though you have the Hellbats and some of the increased leanness of the upgrades of the armory, you still have the huge problem of, even if you ring turrets and sensor towers, the medevacs are so fast you can still catch the tank Thor army out of position.
That's one of the hardest parts about going mech in TVT. I've talked to a lot of pro Terrans and they say mech's great if you can stabilize 3 bases in TVT. The hard part is that it's not like it used to be. You put 1 turret and you figure you're invulnerable. No, those medevacs can zoom right over that. And a group of Marauders in your main, it can be extremely difficult to clean up. So mech, you've got to stay on 2 bases a lot longer. And then even if you have the more cost-efficient combination, your opponent has that much greater economy from you being stuck on 2 bases due to the new harassment potential. So it's still viable, though.
Yes.
I've still seen a lot of great Terrans go mech, and I think as people get more comfortable on when to add in sensor towers, how many Vikings to get, where to put the Vikings, how many missile turrets, where to put the mines, there's so many factors in making a defense that are all complex enough that, it takes people a little bit of time to get used to that.
You know, I'm hoping we start to see some really crazy Terran versus Terran matches where there's drops and flow going back and forth throughout the whole game. But I will say, you know what match I'm most excited for, Nick?
What match are you most excited for, good sir?
Liquid Rhett versus KT Flash.
That is going to be an amazing match. The last European player in this tournament is Liquid Rhett. So will all the Europeans fall, or will Rhett upset the giant of Flash? Because Flash did look like, you know, he looked like he had a weakness against Bly. I mean, he won 3-1. Uh-oh.
I just received an invite to the game. Oh! Yeah! I feel that way too. I'm so excited. The rest of the bracket, Nick, irrelevant. It is a round of 16 best of 5. It looks like Rhett has said go. Good luck. Flash said go. Good luck.
Let's do it.
Nick hit the start button.
I did.
Touch the start button. Ladies and gentlemen,
it started.
The countdown has begun. It is KT Flash versus Liquid Rhett! Oh my gosh, this is so kick-ass. Look at that.
Planet S, the first map in the pool. Nice little circular dynamic about the map. One player can go around the map one way, the other can go around the other way. 2 spawns in the bottom left and the top right.
Let's go ahead and introduce our players. Down in the bottom left is God himself, KT Flash.
And over here in the top right corner of the map, we have Team Liquid's Rhett.
I never knew I could be so amped at the 45-second mark. The game has started.
That's what Flash does to you, man. He's got that electric energy about him. He conveys it in his gameplay. Planet S is going to be, I feel like it's going to be a tough map for Rhett, to be honest.
You know, it's interesting. There's been so much hubbub about the Hell map. How do you stop a Terran player that opens Hellions, gets the armory, and jams at the front? But what we're seeing from the Korean players is that it's the Reaper into Hellion that's really given Zergs the trouble.
Yeah, the Reaper adds just so much flexibility to the Terran build. Not only can you put on a lot of pressure, but you can put on pressure without really losing anything because Reapers are so fast, they regenerate life. Anytime a Terran loses a Reaper early, it's basically due to their micro mistake. And these Korean Terrans are so good at microing, they don't make those micro mistakes. If you see it, it's like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see a Korean Terran lose a Reaper. And then it's not only are you getting free damage, right? So but you also get perfect sky information. So you can do things like triple CC, because you'll know if they have gas, if they're going roaches or speeding. It's such an amazing opening. Flasher, though, going for his tried and true command center first.
People are going nuts because they're happy to be watching a game of StarCraft 2. Wow. Now, I like Rhett getting bold. He's going hatch, gas, then pool. Flash, of course, being Flash and going command center first.
Standard Flash play, and of course using the SCV Scout. One great thing about Flash's command center first is some people are like, he builds on low ground, what if a Zerg early pulls him? Flash never built his command center until his SCV has gotten into Zerg base and counts the drones. So anytime he sees a Zerg getting early pull, he'll still go command center first. So he'll just put it on the wall and then laugh as the Zergians get stuck trying to get through this this ramp that's blocked off by the little Sim City he makes there at the top.
I do think that Rhett, though, is extremely comfortable with the opening that he is going to be up against. At this point, you say, yes, I'm not against a Reaper. This is kind of a critical timing for the Zerg. I mean, sure, the Overlord sees the command center. That's also helpful. But at this point, you can also just realize, okay, my opponent's going for a sort of long macro game. I'm going to go 2 queens, get speed, and get layer immediately. And we're actually going to see Rhett build no Zerglings. And I love this play. He's extremely experienced with it.
He is. I mean, there's really no reason. I think he was getting that very fast speed, partly in anticipation to be able to break a Reaper contain and take back the map control. But now he's like, I don't need the Zergians. He's going to build command centers. I'm just going to build drones. And that's what Rhett loves to do, man. He loves to build drones.
Indeed he do. You know, I think this is a perfect opportunity to talk a little bit about the gameplay that we're seeing out of Flash, just going straight for Hellions almost every single time when everyone else is kind of going for more of this Reaper play, trying to get a little cute with the new units. Flash is kind of sticking to standard openings, but it's the mid-game where he really takes off, getting huge mech, Hellbats, Widow Mines, all the scary stuffs. And of course, Liquid Rhett, is he going to go for that super fast lair, or am I just going to be wrong?
I mean, he's mining 3 on gas. It's going to be a fast lair. If it was going to be Roaches, obviously wouldn't have gotten to speed quite yet. There goes the lair at the 535 mark. And the question is, what is he going to use that lair for? There's a couple possibilities, but we've seen him go sometimes fast Mutas, and sometimes he just goes for the Roach play.
So right now in this best of 5, Rhett, what is he doing with his pair of Zerglings? Scouting the skirting edge of the map, making sure there's no hidden anything, no counterattacks. Second gas Geyser going down. He'll be able to throw down Geysers 3 and 4 in just a moment, but first he wants to make sure he gets enough minerals so he's able to continue to produce drones the whole time.
Flash there in typical Flash style. A third command center is already being produced. Has Rhett spotted that with his Overlord? I think he has. He's seen it there at the bottom left of the map. So Rhett knows exactly what he's dealing with, and Rhett's got to be very happy. Anytime you're teching very fast as Zerg, what happens is they're cutting drones, and you don't want to have to build extra units for defense. You want to be able to spend all your money just on maintaining that drone count. So seeing the third CC of Flash, Rhett knows he has to deal with a few Hellions, but there's not going to be like a giant Marauder follow-up anytime soon.
Uh-oh, it's a very early Spire coming out of Rhett, and this is the moment where he floods things. Man, everyone's freaking out. Okay, everyone be very quiet. We're gonna wait just a little bit to go nuts. Looks like we're having additional drones being added in. A third hatchery is also going down. On the map, we see that the Hellions are spread out from Flash. I'm not sure Flash has any idea how close these Mutalisks are, Nick.
I don't think he does. There's no, I mean, eBays are just finishing, but there's no turrets in construction yet. He is going to pretty soon find out about this third Rhett, as those Hellions are kind of in position to check that out. But Flash is really on defensive mode right now. When you take a third base that fast, he just wants to, and upgrades that fast too. He's really playing for, you know, maybe like a 13, 14-minute push game. Going to stay turtle up defensive until that point.
So we have seen a big pack of Zerglings get made. Looks like +1/+1 is getting started, but Rhett, interestingly, is not actually saving up for Mutalisks. He decided to opt to transition into Zerglings. I wonder why.
Yep, I think he just wants to take the back control, push those Hellions back right now. Mutas are starting to be added right now.
Oh, this is so good.
Everybody wants Rhett to do what hasn't been done yet. Defeat a Korean from a non-Korean perspective, or even defeat a Terran from a Zerg point of view. Rhett's got Zergians on both sides. His creep spread all the way to third base. One thing I kind of like what Rhett's doing is he's taking the third base. A lot of Zergs take the third base at the top here, but I like the right side better because it makes you safer against drone.
Oh no! Oh, Flash is going to get some huge hits off on those Zerglings, and of course Flash just containing ever so gently. Turrets are going up right now for Flash. He's just kind of staying in a defensive posture, but it looks like Rhett's Mutalisk. Wow, Rhett actually has the supply lead at 92-75. Looking very good for the Dutch Zerg.
Mutas are flying around the middle of the map. Flash knows what he's up against. He knows it's fast Muta this time here. He does have the turrets up, one in the main, one in the natural. Is he going to add any more as the Mutas count increases? How much is Rhett going to commit to these Mutas? Is he going to go for a giant amount of baitings to try to slow down Flash's third base? Is he going to transition to a faster hive? Or is he going to go like Leenox style and just power out a ton of Mutas?
I really like the Leenox style of going mass Ling Baneling Mutalisk. Some burrow play is perfect on this map. The circular dynamic, the weird crisscross through the middle, I think is ideal for those surprise Baneling hits. But I mean, Flash, a macro master, is still not quite able to keep up with Rhett, who's currently just hit that money 76 drone count. He needs a macro hatch. Ooh, infestation pit right now for Liquid Rhett. And it looks like the Mutalisks are swinging in to the natural expansion.
The awesome thing about Mutas now in Heartless Storm is they can regenerate at a fairly quick rate, so you can go in there, do some damage, take some shots, get out, and within a minute or so, your Mutas will be ready to do some more harass without having to worry about the damage what's getting picked off very quickly.
There's the Northern Expo for Rhett. Wow, he's actually expanding quite quickly, but I'm a little worried about Rhett's upcoming chances as we're starting to see Flash kick into that mobility mass drop style. Oh no, Rhett! Get out of the mines. Thus far, avoiding the mines.
Yeah, Mutila's flapping their wings, staying now. One Zergling running up, volunteering to take that hit. Not a job every Zergling wants, but it's got to be done by someone.
Overseer nowhere in sight. Baneling's getting produced right now by Rhett, who's going to toss out the scan, and a small Zergling counterattack by Rhett's going to pop right into the natural. Flash sees it in a heartbeat and lets him all in.
Lets him all in to die, though. Bunker takes him out very quickly. Flash beating back the creep on the right side. Rhett's trying to slow that down, but Flash's 2-2 is progressing. What he wants to do is he wants to keep the creep pushed back so that instant he gets 2-2, he can hit a really strong battle when he has that upgrade advantage.
So now it looks like Flash cutting up through the top left. Rhett sees it. There is an opportunity for Rhett to get hit by a Widow Mine.
Always an opportunity. You probably want to miss that opportunity unless, of course, you're Flash. Flash pushing around on top side, going to probably knock out a couple creep tumors here, but no, Speeding's here to answer the threat. Is Flash going to push on the creep with a very small force? That can be dangerous.
This is a tough spot because right now it looks like Flash is going to try to hit in 2 spots at once. How will Rhett deal with it? It looks like he's splitting incorrectly. Has 2 fuelings going down, but pulls back in the nick of time. Right now, Flash has to avoid getting surrounded. Flash is pulling back excellently in the north side while pushing along the south.
Controlling 2 groups' armies at the same time as Flash is just that good. 2-2 is moments from completion. Now picking up units on the right side to avoid those baiting hits.
Oh no, it looks like Rhett got distracted for a moment up at the north. There we're seeing Adrenal Clans, we're seeing the Ultralis Cavern go down. Rhett needs to hang on a little bit longer until he can get some of those key upgrades down. The mines! Oh no, the mines are getting into a forward position. He needs to pull those back. Those could do more damage to the Zerg player, more to the Terran than to the Zerg.
Rhett's retreating down here to deal with these mines. The mines are about to be detonated. They're going to take out many of the babies with them. Flash is being pushed back here, but he's able to escape with the Medivacs. Meanwhile, his other army is decimating the 4th base. Some units load up, heading towards Rhett's main. Rhett has dealt with half the army, but the other half is destroying his economy.
Oh, and there was the Banelings rolling right in. Will get some nice connections, and oh! A mine nails most of those Zerg units, but in the meantime, dropping the main base. Flash knows exactly how to manipulate the Zerg. Rhett has to fall back. The Infestation Pit will fall. Chitinous plating on the Ultralis Cavern, also getting researched, but right now Rhett has 65 wings to 50 Marines. I mean, Flash is just going to overrun this in overwhelming numbers.
Flash's macro is out of control here, doing so much damage when he had the upgrade advantage. Now Rhett's catching up in upgrades, but his economy is crippled, losing his 3rd base now, down to 2 bases. Flash's production is still going crazy. His armies are so strong, the Widow Mines are still protecting the Marines. Rhett's got some Ultras popping out, but he's so behind the food count. What can Ultras do to try to get him back in the game?
I mean, he's going to have to nail this at a perfect angle, but right now, I mean, Flash is just pulling back excellently, looking so good. I mean, some Banelings connect, but right now the Widow Mines are just ripping apart that front line. I mean, Flash is such an incredible macroer.
Flash, his money is permanently extremely low. Minerals never going over 300, 3 3s on the way. Rhett's got 2 Ultralis Caverns, but I don't know if that's going to help him, but what he really needs is a lot more units to deal with Flash's macro.
And now, I mean, Flash hitting in these 2 spots at once. Sure, Ultralis are excellent, but I mean, Flash just macroing brilliantly. Rhett's Ultralis stuck up on the high ground. Oh no, the Evolution Chamber blocking them all in. Good game! I mean, I'm not gonna lie, Flash just looks phenomenal. I think Rhett did an impressive job blasting all the way up his tech tree, getting a lot of his early supply lead, but he wasn't really doing a lot aggressive to the Terran player.
I mean, the real thing there was Flash was unchecked and he had an upgrade advantage. And what happens is it looks good, and then the instant that 2-2 finishes, Flash is like, okay, time to turn it into extra gear, units everywhere. Just took down the 4th base of Rhett, shortly followed by a 3rd base and 2 base Zerg. You just can't support that hive tech off 2 bases.
And you know, watching Flash play there reminded me a lot of seeing him play in Brood War, where he would be pretty much impregnable at the start. Absolutely no vulnerabilities. Any units he sent out in the middle of the map, their goal was not to deal damage. Their goal was to just stay alive, contain, and manage pressure. And there we saw the same thing from Flash, just holding down, and the instant he got his key set of upgrades, he just blasted into full-out aggression mode.
Rhett here versus Flash. We're going to get started with Game 2 in just a minute, right after this short break.